Elise Saint dreamed of death. Where death had once worn a pretty face in her nightmares, now it haunted her like a blood-soaked ghost and refused to let up even during the day. She saw death in the letters she wrote, the guns she polished, the newspapers she read. Everywhere. The truth was, Elise spent most of her time thinking about it and believing she was as good as dead. It had begun as mere thoughts. But weeks of her cyclical thinking turned her thoughts to full-on beliefs that could only be relieved, temporarily, with repetitive compulsions to regain control over her mind. Yesterday, it had been the spin of Jamie's pistol on her finger. She kept the gun in orbit, going around and around by her head, her finger rotating with the trigger. The sound of the metal had become her personal orchestra, while she stared down at countless newspaper clippings before her. Today, it was the familiar smoothness of the rifle trigger beneath her finger. She brushed over it again and again with each new thought. For a moment, the rising tide of anxiety was quelled, but then it would return moments later, and she could only reset her hand and start the rhythmic compulsion again. It did not help that last night's snowfall had stuck, rendering the view outside Jamie's living room window a mess of white flurries and hazy streets. Snowflakes catching on the edge of her lashes and melting on her upper lip prevented her from sinking into the fantasy she'd been conjuring for the past 2 months. Through the snow, she could hardly see the people bustling around outside, much less pretend she was among them, instead of rotting inside. Her knees ached from crouching by the window, waiting for an ounce of excitement. "You should be resting," Jamie called. He rested on the couch with his feet propped up on the coffee table, the newspaper open on his lap. The angry gray cat he called his son purred on the couch arm. In her hyper-fixated state, she hadn't noticed the gangster had returned from his morning errands. Elise carefully pulled the gun off the windowsill, and after setting it on the floor by her carefully annotated map of Harlem, she crossed the room to Jamie. "No need to rest. Mail?" "Nothing for you." The gangster snapped the newspaper once and looked at her with tired blue eyes. Melting snow darkened his blonde hair, and the outside cold still had his cheeks tinged pink. "And not that you'll listen, but I did already check this, and there's nothing noteworthy."